The Russian military and Russian government have a very fatal flaw that's starting to get exposed to the whole world. Now, please stick with me for this video because we're going to be talking about how in Russia it's illegal to own and run a private military company within Russia. And here's what the issue is. The main private military company, Wagner Group or PMC Group, they are becoming so vital to the Russian success within Ukraine and outside Ukraine, Russia might have to listen to everything Wagner says. So let's actually look into Russian law. What does the law say about private military companies? What can you do and not do? Here's what the law states in terms of PMCs. PMCs are technically illegal under Article 359 of the 1996 Russian Criminal Code, which states, recruitment, training, financing, or any other material provision of a mercenary, and also the use of him in an armed conflict or hostilities shall be punishable by deprivation of liberty for a term of 4 to 8 years. So, off the bat, on a surface level, without a doubt, according to Russian law, everything that Wagner is doing is illegal. Recruitment, training, financing, all of this, what they're doing is illegal to Russian law. Which means Russia is using an illegal company to help them during wartime operations and peacetime operations. Now, please stick with me because we will get into the details and we will get into how this could all backfire for Russia. What's very interesting about all of this is that Wagner truly is a double-edged sword for Russia, because in one sense, you can use them in what's called a force multiplier. And a force multiplier is essentially filling in the gaps or filling in the ranks of like an assault or the battlefield. So if a Russian military unit can't get the job done, just send in like 2 battalions of Wagner and maybe they can be what's called a force multiplier. But on the flip side, the main motivation for Wagner at the end of the day is money. If money runs out, Wagner doesn't have to operate or do anything because what they are doing is already illegal and they could just all go to jail for what they're doing. So Russia has actually found a very clever way to use Wagner Group and to not allow them to turn on Russia. We have to give a little credit to Wagner because they were actually able to gain the trust of Putin and Russia and how they are able to almost be an ambassador on the battlefield for Russia. Now, I've talked about this before, but it's very important. The main way that Russia ensures that Wagner will always be paid and funded is by allowing them to make trade deals in Africa. Essentially what happens is Wagner will go into countries like Mali or war-torn countries, and they will do some sort of trade deal between Russia and the country. And in turn, Wagner will get paid some sort of percentage. But things seem to be changing because Wagner is becoming more and more public and we are starting to see the cracks be exposed amongst powers. Who's really in control of Wagner on the Ukrainian battlefield? Now, on paper, the main guy in charge of Wagner, and even to this day, is a guy named Prigozhin. And Prigozhin was known in 2014 to send Wagner troops into Ukraine and start to fight the Ukrainians. We don't know why he was allowed to fund Wagner. We don't know how he did it, but he did it. Now here's where the cracks start to become exposed. Notice before I said on paper, Mr. Prigozhin is in charge. But overall, in charge will always be President Putin. Now, after President Putin, we have Minister of Defense Sergei Shoigu, and he has the last call. He is the one who says yes and no to counteroffensives or oversees Ukraine action. But you can see where this is going. We have Putin, we have a private military, and then we have the actual professional Russian military all operating together. So here's the main question. Who's really in charge and who needs to listen to who? Is Sergei in charge? Is Putin in charge? Is the leader of their own paramilitary in charge? And Russia even put themselves in a very odd no-win situation. I mean, Russia heavily relies on Wagner Group operating in Syria, operating in Africa, to make sure they are the ambassadors of Russia, to ensure we have proper relations with these countries. We also have issues from Sergei because the Russian military strategy seems to suggest that force multiplying in specific situations and hoping Wagner can push on in an assault seems to be like the dominant strategy for Russia. And we can use evidence in Bakhmut where everything just stopped, and a lot of people blame Wagner for not being able to use momentum and to keep pushing into Bakhmut, Ukraine. Now, this next part is rather disturbing, but this is the reality of what's going on amongst the Russian ranks. Right now, Wagner is essentially almost turning into a prisoner military. Wagner is being very open about it. They're going into prisons and they are recruiting prisoners. Would you rather have a life sentence in a Russian prison, or would you rather go fight for your country of Russia and you might become a hero, you're going to get paid, and then you can earn your freedom? Now, this is where another severe issue happens for the Russian military strategy. By using Wagner and using these military recruits who get almost no training, there's actually been a lot of leaks coming out of Wagner saying we're not getting any training and now we're in combat. When you use them as a force multiplier and you try to get a little bit of land here and gain some momentum, all of that dies out because they have no experience and they're just used as cannon fodder, and that gives false hope to the Russian military. What's even more scary for the Russian military and the Russian government is that at the end of the day, Wagner, they are the ones who are truly in charge because they essentially operate as a single unit. They run their own private military. Now look, I'm going to use the United States as a comparison to how private contracting companies actually screwed over the US military, more specifically in Iraq. Now, if you are not aware, there used to be a company called Blackwater, and I'm sure a lot of you have heard of them. Blackwater was a private military contracting company who would essentially help with security operations. They actually have helped with like medevac operations. They were rather useful during the Iraq War. And their main selling point as to why you would use Blackwater in correspondence to the US military, they only recruit from Navy SEALs, Army Rangers. You had to be like elite to be in Blackwater. But where things started to go downhill, just like Wagner Group, Blackwater was recruiting anyone at one point because they needed to fulfill contracts for the US military. Blackwater was making a ton of money. So instead of hiring Navy SEALs, they would even save more money by hiring like a mechanic. Like, yeah, you have some combat experience, you're a mechanic, but come join Blackwater. Now, Blackwater starts lowering and lowering the standards, but they have all of these former military members to fill in the ranks of their contracts. It almost sounds like Wagner hiring prisoners to fill in their ranks. And eventually, Blackwater starts operating on their own within Iraq. They start harassing civilian populations. They start to really go on these missions that they were not supposed to be doing, and the US military almost starts to lose control of them. And I truly see Wagner falling into a similar situation, but I actually see it being way worse. Because Wagner, the leader of Wagner, managed to get himself in the inner circle of Putin and Sergei Shoigu. These guys are running the show in Ukraine. At least for Blackwater, like, yeah, they had a pretty big role during the Iraq War, but they never reached the levels of where Wagner is at. So yeah, that's essentially my assessment and how I view the Wagner situation and how they've managed to become so powerful amongst Russian government and Putin himself. Leave your comments and opinions down below. Let me know if you agree with me. Let me know if you totally disagree with me. But I am curious to see what you guys have to say. We'll see you later.